My husband put his mistress in the nursery saying I couldn't have kids. Little did he know I was holding a positive pregnancy test. Just as I stepped into the house holding the pregnancy report I had worked on for 5 years, I saw my husband leading his young female secretary into the baby room. Holly Winter clenched her hands, lowered her head, and began to sob, deliberately revealing the red marks on her neck. "Alex, I'm homeless. Please agree to let Mr. Thornton take me in," she pleaded. Daryl Thornton held her hand, his tone sharp and defensive toward me. "She's the good student you sponsored. She just graduated and doesn't have the money to rent a place. You are a grown adult and make a fuss over a young girl." He glanced at me coldly. "Besides, you can't have children. There are plenty of empty rooms in the house." I watched silently as he turned the baby room we had prepared into her bedroom. Letting out a long sigh, I made a call. "Mom, is it too late for me to agree to the conditions you gave me before and come home?" "Alex, have you finally come to your senses?" my mother asked, her voice for a mix of surprise and suspicion. "I am warning you," she continued. "Before you return, you must cut all ties with that man. If you don't, you won't get a single penny from the Wood family estate." I looked down at the pregnancy report in my hands and smiled bitterly. "Just give me a few more days to sort everything out here." After hanging up, my legs suddenly gave out, and I barely managed to steady myself by leaning against the wall. In the 5 years since my marriage, the Thornton family had repeatedly hinted at their desire for a son, but the tests confirmed that getting pregnant wouldn't be easy for me. Consumed by guilt, I visited every gynecological clinic and sought advice from countless traditional medicine practitioners. For years, I endured endless medications and examinations, my body burdened with the bitterness of herbal concoctions. Yet during all of this, Daryl brought the college student I had sponsored into his company as his personal secretary, a role he conveniently described as a life assistant. And now he had taken it a step further, bringing her into our home. All my efforts over the past 5 years felt like nothing more than a cruel joke. "Alex, are you okay? Why are you sitting on the floor?" Holly appeared in a white shirt and miniskirt, leaning down to check on me. As she bent forward, her actions deliberately revealed a provocative glimpse. I stared at her coldly, watching her shameless display right in front of me. I couldn't forget how, back when she first learned I was married to Darrell, a rising name among the business elite, she had publicly knelt before me in her alma mater's auditorium, begging for my help. She looked so pitiful. Since she was my junior, I had covered all her tuition and miscellaneous fees, even giving her an extra $2,000 every month for living expenses. Who would have thought her true target was never my kindness, but my husband Daryl? Holly held a large box filled with baby toys and clothes. "Alex, I looked through these things carefully, and they were all useless junk," she said casually. "Since you can get pregnant anyway, let me help you by clearing out this clutter that's just taking up space." I touched my slightly rounded belly, a sharp ache stabbing through my chest. These toys and clothes were the ones Daryl and I had picked out together piece by piece. I remembered how he used to rest his head on my stomach, listening for sounds that weren't there yet. When he looked up at me, his eyes sparkled with excitement. "I heard that if we make the baby room beautiful, the baby will come sooner," he'd say. "We will definitely have a child of our own someday. I will keep this room ready for you, and I won't let anyone touch it." But now I am pregnant, and that very baby room, the one we had lovingly designed together, had been handed over to someone else by the man who once promised to protect it. I stood up coldly and snatched the box from her hands. "It's not for you to decide whether these things are useful or not." Holly's wide eyes instantly brimmed with tears, her voice trembling as she stammered. "Alex, I know you don't like me, but no matter how much you blame me, someone has to take care of Mr. Thornton. You're so focused on the baby that you don't understand Mr. Thornton's feelings at all. Daryl always says he doesn't even have a close friend around him." I agreed to Mr.